It has really been a long haul to get back to work after having surgical procedures. Oh, I can do that. So after I made this repair, I have to extend the little gold band. And what I have is some of this gold pinstriping of different sizes. And if this isn't small enough, I'll have to just trim a little bit off the sides of it. But let's try that. I just need a little bit of it. Mm. I'm also going to put a little where I'm applying it. I continued this finish all the way around each side, using a brush and a roller and doing many, many strokes. It seems like overkill, but it's not. I continue brushing over and over in as straight a line as possible so that I can decrease any edges from swipe to swipe. And this is really effective, but you have to not give up too quickly. Although I think some finishes do go on more smoothly, or at least more easily if you brush them on or if you spray them on, this particular finish needs a little bit of working, and it stays wet for quite a while. It has quite a bit of open time, in other words. So when I did it to the top, I did the same thing. I got acrylic wiped on evenly all the way across this huge top. And then I would go from one end to the other in as straight a line as possible, and each time wiping away the previous line in the hopes that I would decrease any striping or anything like that. And we'll see. This would be the second coat that is on there. Actually, I put 3 coats on. This cabinet is so big. Let's start with the top piece of the cabinet. I have to fix that trim that runs around the middle on the inside. You can see here in the top left corner, it's dropping down. It's also loose on the bottom. And so I have to glue that or nail it or do something with it. And also I have to refinish the top. It's quite scratched, and you can see how much more scratched it is on the right side. I want to make sure that that is just a surface blemish rather than a deep scratch in the veneer itself. And we'll do that starting today. So there might be a few questions here. The first question is, why am I using Bondo? I'm using Bondo because the substrate is MDF with an application of thin veneer over the top. So in order to create a corner, I'm going to use Bondo. I think personally this is my best option for building a solid surface underneath what could be veneer or putty. I am going to opt for putty because the edges of the substrate, which is some sort of fiber board, is very uneven, and I have to create a flat surface eventually so that this top will fit nice and smoothly on the lower cabinet. I opted to go right into stripping this top piece. It worked okay. And so I'll let that dry, and then I'll go over it with a coat of tinted shellac. I actually have to do this as well. So I'm just going to sand it down a little bit by hand just to give it some tooth and take off any residual finish on that edge. I got some of these sanding tools from my friend Dar at DIYs by Dar. And yeah, I'm going to start off using those on the edge right here. I apologize for all the wiggling around of the camera. I'm actually holding the boom up off the floor because the cabinet is so tall that my boom doesn't reach this level. So I'm out of my mixing shellac. So I'm going to have to get some for tomorrow and yeah, then start doing the color on the top. Yep. You know, it doesn't look too bad. It sat for the weekend and I had to go out and get more shellac because I ran out, and we are doing this with the tinted shellac, just like we did the other piece. So yes, now I am going to mix it off camera, and by the time you're hearing me say this, I will already be applying it. If you're interested in watching me mix up the tinted shellac, I will place the video and the text right here so that you can watch it if you want to. So I am going to go over some of the more obvious scratches with a little bit of dye pens. I'm going to have to find a way to deal with this. I don't know why this doesn't match whatever piece that they had in here. Once it's tacked in on either side, it leaves a big space, and I actually don't know why. So I'm going to have to fiddle with that a little bit. So here is where I have to really work at this the best I can to try to get that edge to be level. and I'm removing the first layer of the putty, and I can realize when my sandpaper is going underneath that it's not even and level. So what I did was I mixed a second batch of putty. There's a little bit of pigment in there too, that's why it's dark. And I am going to hold a straight edge with a layer of this putty and try to make it as flat a surface as I possibly can. It would be a lot easier to do this if I could maneuver the cabinet, but I cannot. I don't want to tip it. It's just too large for me to maneuver by myself, so I had to work very low on the floor. And of course that means I don't have as good a visual, but I am hoping with the care that I'm taking with this particular part that even though it was harder for me to do it, that it will still be right in the end. Again, I'm leaving a little bit of a proud surface, if you will, with the putty so that I know that I have a good layer underneath. And here I'm sliding that ruler backwards so that it leaves a straight, soft edge. Here we go. I'm not pushing hard, I'm just lightly going over it just to remove any dust nibs and get a really nice smooth surface here. There's nothing so luscious to me as a nice oil stain. Oh, it just comes out beautiful. I think once you use it, it's very difficult to go back to water base. Okay, I'm going to let that dry for several hours. And what I'm doing is just going by the side. So you can see that the top is still not rich enough to match the sides. So obviously we'll need another coat. And yeah, so we'll come back for that. So I'm going to have to sand that down a little bit when it's nice and dry, because see the spots, trying to catch the spots with a paintbrush, but I wasn't prepared. I had to stop and go and find one, and it was just a chip brush, and it's really almost defeatist because you go out of your way and you buy the expensive stuff, and to me, Mohawk is expensive. You have to wait for it, order it from the company, nobody sells it, and you buy the good stuff so that those things don't happen, and then they happen. It's like you can't win. I did try to sand it down with just a sanding sponge. It's trying to be so careful not to burn through the veneer. I do have one little spot. I don't know. I don't think that burnt through the veneer, but it's so close. Okay, I'll wait for this to dry and then I'll go over it with some shellac and start the staining process all over again. Hi there. Hi. Hello. Hello. Hi, buddy. Hi. Yes, that was a different color. I am trying something because I think that the sides on this one are just a little bit more golden than the black caviar, so I'm going to start with a coat of this. It's a premium teak. It's an oil stain, of course, and I'm going to let that dry, and then I'm going to start with the black caviar. So hopefully it won't need more than one coat of the black caviar, I'm hoping, and still we'll be able to see all that nice variation in that walnut grain. So, yep, let's let that dry. We'll start all over again.